In today's video, we're going to discuss the everything crash and what you are not being told. Because I bet you turn on the news from time to time and the reporter tells you about all the good stories. You know, the ones where the school teacher was rewarded for doing something heroic. Or the story about how a family got out of credit card debt due to the stimulus provided by the US government. Or there's even stories about how you can get a meal at one of your favorite restaurants. And the nice thing is you don't have to book a reservation in advance and you don't have to wear a mask. Those are great stories. But the mainstream media is not telling you the other stories, the other side of things. For instance, the school teachers who have to pay out of pocket to teach your kids because the school's budget doesn't cover their costs. Guess what? Those teachers are quitting. Or how the family that was able to get out of credit card debt is now slowly getting back into credit card debt due to inflation. The price of food, gas, and rent all increasing. Or even how your favorite restaurant doesn't actually have all the items on the menu due to supply chain shortages, or now you have to wait twice as long just to get up to your booth because they don't have the same amount of workers cycling through customers. Those are all issues. Now, these are things that nobody's really telling you, and the reason why is very simple. Humans are wired in a way that we don't want to constantly hear bad news. And when we do, we shy away from it. We move the other way. But the truth is that it is better to know the facts than to hide behind somewhat misinformation. And I'm here today to give you the facts. Here's what I can tell you. We are currently in the middle of the everything crash. Everything is potentially going to crash, and it will impact every single person in the United States. I say this because we are seeing exactly what's happening. The stock market is currently crashing. We saw the Dow just today had its worst day since 2020 when the pandemic first hit here in the United States. That was a tough time. You remember that time? You remember when the stock market was completely just falling and nobody knew what was going to happen? Well, we just experienced part 2 of that today. We also know retail traders are selling off of their stocks just to secure some cash and actually to prevent their portfolios from falling even more. That's the struggle. Now, the expectation is that things are going to continue to fall. They're not going to improve anytime soon, or at least until inflation is under control and we know whether or not we are in the middle of a recession. Well, that's just the first crash. We're also expecting to see a real estate crash. It may not happen today, but experts do predict it is going to happen. We're already seeing entire neighborhoods being bought up by hedge funds. An entire neighborhood. That's massive. We're also seeing real estate closings dip. We're seeing home prices are dropping. We know interest rates now are the highest they have been since 2009. And buyers are seeing their buying power get greatly reduced, so they're not able to purchase what they are currently seeing on the market. So they have to wait, which means they are forced to go and rent, which also means landlords can almost ask whatever they want because they understand that buyer isn't technically a buyer yet, and they have no other option but to rent. Let's talk about another crash. It's a retail crash. Here's what I can tell you. Today, Target's stock dropped by about 25% due to their forward projections and losses due to rising prices. Walmart also stated that they're having issues with inflation and consumer spending. The Dollar Tree dropped as well because of prices, right? We're seeing the prices that these retailers have to pay just to get some of their products is insane. And they haven't actually pushed it off onto the consumer just yet. That would be detrimental. So we are seeing real retail stores begin to lay off employees because of this. As a result of rising prices they're not as profitable as they once were. Guess what they're doing? They're laying people off. Well, what comes next? It's the employment crash. When employment begins to crash, people are not working the hours that they are currently working right now, then consumers will stop spending money because they don't have it. Our economy will slow down to almost a crawl, and things will get dramatically worse. That's the expectation. Now, when all those things happen, right, the stock market selling off, real estate's in a crash and plummeting, we got people are not working like they used to, guess what happens? We will be in an economic crash. We will be in a recession. Now, do you see how real estate, retail spending, employment, and even inflation are all tied together? This is what's insane. According to experts, it's only a matter of time before the crash really amplifies. And before that happens, economists predict we will be in a recession. So we're going to go into a recession. Then once we are confirmed that we are in a recession, we will see a crash. But here's the harsh reality of the situation that we are currently in. We could potentially already be in the middle of a recession, and consumers are still spending money like they just received their $1,200, their $600, or even their $1,400 stimulus checks. That's what's insane about all this, is people are not saving money, they are spending more money than they are currently making. And that could be a huge mistake. So here's my advice to you. Be careful, because you never know when our economy will take a major turn downward. We don't know. I understand you may have money saved up. That's great. You may have debt paid off. That's awesome. You may already own your home. That's wonderful. But if you are not somewhat, insuring yourself, protecting yourself, giving yourself a buffer in case the economy does take a major downturn, you are going to have a tough time. Inflation, according to multiple experts, just today is expected to go back up. Yeah, insane, right? Because what I just told you over the past, 5 or 6 minutes is that we are seeing things crash. But at the same time, retailers are not pushing their costs over to the end consumer just yet. They're waiting. You know why they're waiting? All the products that are coming in, these are products that they purchased last year when prices were still fairly low. But guess what? The new products that they've been purchasing, especially for restaurants, the new contracts that they're in, these are going to push the additional costs onto the consumer. That's you and I, which means prices are going to go up as gas prices increase. And I addressed this yesterday. I talked about this yesterday, that gas prices are going to increase because diesel prices are going up. We are seeing a supply issue. Demand is higher than it's ever been in the past couple years for diesel and gasoline. Well, our supply is actually down. So when our supply is down, but demand is up, guess what? Prices go up. That's why we're going to see things get more expensive. And as they do, as inflation goes back up, guess what? The American people have less money to spend. So the expectation is we are going to see a crash. It may not happen today, which it kind of did. We may not see it next week or next month. It could happen in 5 or 6 months. It could happen in November when we see the midterm elections get finished. We could see it come January or sometime in 2023. We don't know. But experts predict we are going to see the biggest crash in history at some point. So again, I'm not here to tell you, oh, it's coming, be fearful, don't spend any money. I'm here to tell you, be prepared, be ready, have some cash on the sideline, have debt paid off so that when it comes, you can be ready to dive in, buy stocks when they're low, buy real estate when it's low. Because guess what? As they go back up, you will make more money. You will increase your net worth, and you will be much happier that you save now for a future potential crash. So that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back and share all latest news and updates again. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.